Hello dear students, today I am going to give you a brief idea about the project work which you are going to do in TYBSc IT. Now this is called project work which is been divided into two parts. So let's see what you are going to do in your 5th sem and then in the 6th sem. The project work which you are going to do in the 5th sem is going to be completely documentation part which is called as project dissertation. Now documentation means you're not going to actually start with the project, but then you're going to collect all the matter, all the contents related to your actual project, and then you're going to submit it as project dissertation. While in 6th sem you're going to actually start with the project which is called as project implementation. So we are going to focus much on project dissertation because you are going to start that part first. So let's see about project dissertation. Now when we talk about project dissertation, or let us say project documentation, most of the students have a lot of queries. Here I have tried to cover most of the queries. Of course, the clear picture will be available only when we will have one-to-one interaction, but still let's see what are the important things to be considered in project dissertation. The few questions which students ask are: what are the marks allotted to project dissertations, then how many students can do the project, how many chapters we have to do, that means what actually is the documentation, and then how it has to be submitted. So I have covered almost all the queries over here in this particular slide. Now as we can see, project dissertation, that means project documentation, which you are supposed to do in sem 5, carries altogether 15 marks. Now the whole project is of 200 marks, out of which 50 marks will be there in your sem 5 and remaining 150 will be in the 6th sem, which will be actual project implementation. Then the number of students per group. Now this is very important because normally students make a group of 3 students, 4 students per group, which is not allowed. So if you want to do the project, it can be individual, that means you yourself is doing the project, or maximum it can be of 2 students but not more than that. In sem 5, that means for the project documentation, there are going to be altogether 4 chapters. Now 4 chapters over here means, as I have already said, project dissertation means documentation. So the whole documentation will be divided into 4 chapters. Here we are not going to do the coding or actual implementation. This has to be done in sem 6th. So altogether 4 chapters will be there, and that you are going to submit after 2 months when you will be completing the whole 4 chapters, and it will be in the form of spiral binding. Here also normally students get confused because when it comes out to be project, students normally submit it as a black book. But remember friends, that in sem 5 we are not going to submit the black book, but instead we are going to have all these 4 chapters as a spiral binding. Now let's see the type of projects which you are supposed to do. Of course, it is been expected that you are going to do real life project. Real life project means you are going to do the projects which will be actually implemented in some company, in some institutions, in some organizations. But then it is not at all mandatory for you to do a real time life project. In case if you are not getting any real life projects, then it's not an issue. You can always have take the help of your guide and then do some dummy project, and then it can be implemented in the real life. So you can go for a real life project, that means a project where you are going to do actually for the company, or then you can go for some dummy project also. Now this is the list of the front end and back end which you are going to do, which you can use for your project. As you can see, most of the programming languages you have learned already in your in these 2 years. For example, C, C++, Java. Most of the programming languages like Visual, C Sharp, ASP.NET you are going to learn in your TY. So it is the languages which you have learned already or which you are going to learn in your TY. You can use these languages and go ahead with the project. So it's not a hard and fast rule that you have to use these languages only, but if you find any other language which is there in the market which is going on currently but it is not there in your syllabus, that can be also used to make the software. So I will suggest you to go through these softwares first, and then if you think you're comfortable with Java or C Sharp or Python, then you can go ahead, choose these languages and make the project. Now these are the other operating systems which you can use. For example, you can go for Linux, you can go for Raspberry Pis, Arduino, which you have already learned in your previous years. For example, 8051 and Raspberry Pi you are going to learn in your 5th sem. So you can use those programming languages or those microprocessors languages which you have already done and then make the project. These are the application areas. Application areas means you can make your project related to any of these areas. It can be related to financial, insurance, manufacturing. So that's completely on the student who, like, if you think that you can make a website, then you can go for e-commerce site. If you are good in IP programming, you can go for TCP IP socket programming. So these are the areas wherein you can make your software. Okay, now let's see how to actually start with the project. The most important thing is decide on the project first and decide on the group. Now, what do you mean by decide on the project? It means first you make your mindset that what type of program, what type of project you are going to do. Whether you are going to make a web application, whether you want to do in IoT, whether you want to make in robotics. So first decide on the project. Now there are so many projects available on the internet. I will suggest you to go through it, understand it, and then if you feel that you can make similar project, then you should go for that particular project. Of course, the things or the codings has not to be copied as it is. A student is expected to do his own project. So first you decide on some project and then decide on the group. As I've already made it clear that the group over here means individual or maximum 2 students. So you can decide on your friends, like who are the other partner with whom you are going to do the project. Now here let me make one thing clear. Sometimes students says that our project is quite vague, quite big, so can we make a group of 3 students? I will say strict no for it at this point. Right? That please don't go, because it will be a problem for you at the later stage. So better go for a maximum 2 students, as I have already written it over here. Now first is, of course, you have to decide on the project and then decide whether you want to do it individually or in a group. Next is, this is most important, that once you have decided, it's not that you are going to directly start with the project. You have to get the approval for the project, and that is mandatory, it's compulsory. Now what is this approval? Here when you decide on the project, you have to decide on the title and then fill up a form. Now what is this form about? It has been given in the next slide, so I will show you what is it about. And the link is also been given over here, which is called as the proforma. Proforma looks something like this, which gives a detail about the student, the title of the project, then the type of project he is going to do, which will be given in the title along with what software he is going to use. That means it is a brief idea about what is the project about. If you get signature on this, of course, when you will get the signature when you are going to submit this proforma. So once you submit the proforma and you get the signature of the guide, then only you can go ahead with it. Now here let me make it clear that please first submit the proforma. Without the signature of the proforma, your project won't be selected. Now I have given the link of this proforma in this documentation sections, comment sections, so you can go for it, you can download it. Other than that, I have given one more link of the index page which you are going to use for the project. So these are the two links. I expect the students to please download it from the comment sections, and then you can start with the project. So students, I think this will be sufficient for you to go ahead and start with the project. If you have got any queries, naturally you can submit it in the comment section. Thank you.